In the Ottoman harem, a woman who bore a son gained the title Haseki, one set apart. The title had existed for 40 years before 1521. No woman had ever held it twice. The name you say to yourself in the dark is still Hürrem. It has been 11 months since the woman with the pen wrote it down without looking up, and you have been saying it ever since, in the quiet before sleep, in the space between one task and the next, the way you once said the liturgy in Church Slavonic. Not because you believe it yet, but because repetition is the only thread you have left that belongs entirely to you. You are 16 years old. You are in the third courtyard of Topkapı, in a room that smells of cedar oil and the particular damp of stone that has not dried since winter. It is March, and the courtyard outside your window holds a single almond tree that began flowering 4 days ago in weather too cold for it. White blossoms on bare wood. And you have been watching it each morning the way you once watched the road to Lviv, waiting for it to do something that would tell you what came next. You still believe, in the way people of your place and time believe things before experience corrects them, that there is a natural order to what happens inside these walls. That the order is fixed, that it has been fixed for longer than you have been alive and will remain fixed after you are gone. The women who have been here longer than you move through the corridors with a certainty that confirms this belief. There are rules, there is a hierarchy. A woman in the harem of Suleiman I, Sultan of the Ottoman Empire, does not become a wife. She becomes a mother, if she is fortunate, and a mother of a sultan if she is more fortunate than that. And the distance between those two things is the distance between surviving and mattering, and you are not yet sure which of them you are trying to do. You hold this belief the way you hold everything now, carefully, at a slight distance, the way you held the two possible words on the road from Rohatyn, not sure if they were real. You are wrong about the order. You do not know this yet. The labor begins on a Tuesday, which you know because the women who count days for you told you so afterward. You do not experience it as a Tuesday. You experience it as a thing that begins at night and does not end until well into the following day. 17 hours by the reckoning of the midwife. A woman named Fatma, who has attended perhaps 200 births in the harem and approaches yours with the same neutral efficiency as the woman who named you approached the naming. The room they bring you to is small, stone-floored, hung with fabric on 3 walls to hold the warmth of the brazier in the center. 2 other women are present besides Fatma. You do not know their names. You have been learning Ottoman for 8 months, and you know perhaps 400 words, which is not enough for this. You know the word for water. You know the word for breathe. You know a word that you think means push, but are not entirely certain. You are certain about it afterward. The child comes at midday. A boy. Fatma says something to the 2 other women, and they repeat it, and one of them leaves the room quickly in a way that tells you the leaving matters. You are too tired to follow the logic. You are aware of the child's weight on your chest, the specific pressure of him, which is heavier than you expected, and warmer than anything you have touched since the woman on the boat held your hair back over the green water of the Black Sea. You count his fingers. 10. You count them again. 10. You do not know yet what the leaving woman is going to tell, or who she will tell it to, or what will be set in motion by the words she carries across the courtyard in her cupped hands like water. You know 10 fingers. You know the weight. You know that the almond tree outside your window was still flowering this morning, and that the sky was the same pale blue it always is, the same sky over every place you have ever been. The boy is named Mehmed. This is not your decision. You are informed of it 3 days after the birth by the Valide Sultan's steward, a man you have seen twice before in the corridors, and whose function you understand only partially. He says the name with a formality that tells you the name has weight you cannot yet measure. Mehmed, the name of the conqueror. The name of the Sultan who took Constantinople 68 years before this child was born, who turned the great basilica of Hagia Sophia into a mosque, who remade the map of a continent. You say the name to yourself that night, Mehmed. It does not yet feel like it belongs to the small thing sleeping beside you. What you learn in the 2 weeks after the birth, in pieces, through the Greek girl who has been here before, and the fragments of Ottoman you now carry like coins, is this. A Haseki is a woman who has borne a son to the Sultan and been recognized by him. The word comes from Arabic. It means one who is set apart. In the harem of Topkapı, there are rules about what happens next to a woman who has borne a son. She is given rooms. She is given an allowance, a daily stipend in Aksi. She is not sent away. She is not, under the custom that has governed this palace for 200 years, called again. 1 child, 1 withdrawal. This is the rule. It has been the rule since before you were born. A woman who bears a son has fulfilled her purpose and is set apart to raise him. She does not remain in the Sultan's household as a presence. She does not accumulate power. She does not persist. You do not know that Suleiman has already broken this rule. You do not know he intends to break it again. You learn that you are being kept the way you learned everything in this place, not through announcement, but through the behavior of other people around you. It begins with the way the women in the corridor stop moving when you pass. Not all of them, 3, then 4, then 7. A specific stillness that you recognize from the road, from the market in cafe, from the first weeks in this palace. The stillness of people calculating. You have learned to read calculation. It is the most reliable information available to you in a place where no one explains anything directly. Then the rooms. Fatma tells you, in Ottoman, you now understand well enough, that your rooms are being moved. Not to smaller quarters, as happens when a woman's status diminishes. To a set of rooms on the 3rd level, above the garden courtyard, with 2 windows instead of 1. You stand in the new rooms and look at the 2 windows for a long time. 2 windows. The Greek girl, whose name you have finally learned is Zoe, explains it to you in the mix of Greek and broken Ottoman you have developed between yourselves over 11 months. What is happening, she says, does not happen. She says this twice. What is happening to you does not happen. You do not understand all of it. You understand enough. You count the windows again. Still 2. The word Haseki is written in Ottoman script, which is Arabic script adapted to Ottoman Turkish, which runs right to left on the page in a direction that still requires effort from you, like reading water upstream. You are learning to read it. You have been learning since the 4th month, from a woman named Gulbahar, who teaches without being asked to teach, who leaves texts near the window and says nothing when you pick them up. The word Haseki appears on a document that is brought to your rooms on a morning in June by the same steward who told you the child's name. He reads it aloud. He waits. You nod, because nodding is what you have learned to do when documents are read to you that you understand partially and cannot ask to have explained. Afterward, you write the word yourself on a piece of paper you are not supposed to have, with a reed pen you borrowed from Gulbahar without asking. You write it 3 times. The letters do not yet feel like they belong to the sounds they make. You write it a 4th time. Haseki, 1 set apart. You think about the woman with the pen who wrote your name without looking up. You think about whether she knew, when she wrote it, what it would become. You think probably not. You think probably she wrote many names, and this was one of them, and she did not look up for any of them. You fold the paper and put it in the chest that has been in your rooms since the 1st week. The chest that contains 3 things you have accumulated in 11 months. A fragment of Cyrillic text your father would recognize, a small cross of Orthodox design that Zoe gave you, and a piece of braided cord from a garment that came apart on the road and that you have kept without knowing exactly why. Because keeping things is a form of knowing where you were. You have known about Mahidevran since the 2nd week. In a place where no one explains anything directly, the things people do not say become a form of language. No one says her name in your presence. This is information. No one tells you where her rooms are relative to yours. This is information. The way the women in the corridor arrange themselves when a particular footstep approaches, separating to the walls in a specific way. 2 steps back, eyes down. This is the clearest information of all. Mahidevran Sultan is the mother of Şehzade Mustafa, who was born in 1515 and is therefore 6 years old in the summer of 1521. She is the first woman to have borne a son to Suleiman. In the order of the harem as it existed before you arrived, before Mehmed was born, before whatever is happening now began to happen, she was the woman who mattered most. You understand this from the behavior of others before you understand it from words. What you do not understand because you do not yet have the Ottoman necessary to understand it, and because no one will say it directly, is what the existence of Mehmed means for Mustafa. You know that Mehmed is being kept. You know that you are being kept. You do not yet understand that the word Haseki, now attached to your name on a document in the palace records, means that the order that protected Mahidevran's position, the order you believed was fixed, has been set aside. You will understand this on an afternoon in late July, in a corridor between the harem quarters and the garden, when you are walking with Mehmed in your arms and a woman turns the corner ahead of you and stops. She is perhaps 25. She is wearing clothing of a quality you recognize now, after 11 months, as significant. Her hair is covered. Her face is a calculation you have seen before, on the road, in the market, in the corridors of this palace, the calculation of someone assessing a threat. The corridor is perhaps 8 paces wide and 12 paces long, and there are 2 other women behind you and 1 behind her, and for the length of time it takes the candle at the far end to flicker once, nothing moves. Then she says something in Ottoman at a pitch and speed that is beyond your current vocabulary to fully pass. You catch 3 words: your name, the word for foreign, a word you do not know. You look at her face and not at her hands, which is the mistake. The cut is above your left eyebrow, from a ring she was wearing, a gold ring with a setting that caught the edge of your face when her hand moved. It is not deep. Fatma looks at it that evening and says something that means it will close on its own. And it does, over the following 4 days, into a line that stays pink for 3 weeks and then fades to a mark that is still visible if you know to look for it. A slight irregularity in the skin above your left eyebrow that you will carry for the rest of your life. In the days after, you learn the word you did not know. Mahidevran used it in the corridor. It means, approximately, in the Ottoman of 1521, a woman who has come from outside, who does not belong. The word has other meanings that take you longer to learn. You are told later, by Zoe, in the mix of languages that is your only private speech, that Mahidevran also pulled your hair and scratched your neck, and that the other women in the corridor did not intervene, which you already knew from the way your neck felt that evening, and the silence that followed you back to your rooms. You do not tell anyone directly. You do not know the Ottoman necessary to tell it properly, and something in you, a thing that was present on the road from Rohatyn, on the boat across the Black Sea, in the market in Kife, a thing that learned very early to move through difficult spaces without calling attention to its own difficulty, decides that the telling is not the point. The point is that the ring left a mark and the mark is visible. And on the 3rd day, when Suleiman comes to your rooms, which he does with increasing regularity now, with a frequency that confirms everything Zoe has been trying to explain to you about what is happening to your position in this palace. On the 3rd day, he looks at your face and he sees the mark and his expression changes. He does not ask. He does not say anything. He looks at the mark above your left eyebrow for the length of time it takes to understand it, and then he looks at you, and then he looks away. At the 2 windows, at the child in the corner of the room, at the single almond tree in the courtyard below that bore fruit this summer and then dropped it, 1 piece at a time, across the stone. He says nothing, and you learn in that silence something that 11 months of Ottoman vocabulary has not taught you. That silence in this place is not the absence of meaning. That a man who says nothing while looking at a mark on a woman's face has already decided something. That what he decides next will not be reversed. You do not know what he has decided. You look at the 2 windows, the same way you counted icons on the wall in Rohatyn, the same way you counted fingers on the road, the same way you have been counting everything since the last ordinary morning. 2 windows, the almond tree below them, the same pale sky, the mark on your face that will be there tomorrow and the day after, and every day after that in the same place, above the left eye, fading slowly, never entirely gone.